Hi, welcome to Yukiro Music. Today is a completely unscripted video. I'm just gonna yap about stuff I have bought that relates to music and hi-fi. So the first thing is, well, fluorescent tape. So this is to mark speaker positions on the floor. You might have seen this at retailers or at hi-fi shows where they do little tape markers on the floor for where a speaker stands. I had some other tape I used for this, but it wasn't good. It wasn't sticking to the floor properly. So I bought this. They're kind of thin, but brightly colored, which suits me perfectly. And the adhesive seems to be benign-ish and doesn't sort of leave residue in the floor, which was just a stroke of luck. Just something I found on Amazon. So I use these to mark a position for a speaker, especially now that I'm reviewing active loudspeakers that have DSP, room correction, and so on. So if I measure them and calibrate them to one position, I need to mark what that position was if I want to try another position and then go back to the first one. So I bought a set of tape to just mark speaker positions for the two rooms that I review speakers in. So that's going to come in handy. Sort of odd music related thing, but we're getting to actual music in a little bit. Although first, this got dusty, is this box from Stack Audio. So this, well, yeah. So focus, yes, please, no, focus. Focus breathing in the lens. Anyway, it's empty now because I have taken out the footers that were in here. Room for 4, I just bought 3 for my turntable because the turntable has 3 feet originally. And the bench that I have my stereo set up on is not purpose-made for hi-fi, but I just thought it was a beautiful piece of furniture. It is sort of made to order, locally made here in Sweden with Swedish-sourced material, Swedish oak, and the stone slab on the top is from an island called Gotland. And I just think it's a very beautiful piece of furniture. So I wanted that. And it had the good right measurements too. So I wanted that as my stereo bench. Turns out that if you tap the stone top when you have the needle in the groove of a record, the resonances transfer through. So with the standard feet on my turntable, that was maybe an issue because, well, while I'm not tapping that surface while I'm playing music, it is plausible and probable that bass vibrations from the speaker output would cause micro resonances in the stone surface that would transfer into the tone arm and needle. So I bought these footers, put them under the turntable, and they made a huge difference, at least with the tap test. I have not properly evaluated them during playback yet, but seeing as they helped a huge amount just for the tapping, I'm going to have to assume they do something for potential sort of resonance feedback in the system. Not sponsored. I bought these with my own money. You can get them straight from Stack Audio. Thought it was a pretty good deal. There are a lot of options out there. I opted for these. I heard good things about them, and they seem to live up to that. So moving on, we got some records. I wonder what order I should do this in. Okay, this is not a record I ordered. It was included for free in a different package. And this is Sectorism, some sort of Black Doom death metal thing. It's still sealed. I haven't opened it. Let's open it, see if there's anything interesting here. It's just a sort of cardboard sleeve. You got some snakes reaching for a hand. Is there a booklet? There's a little booklet on matte. Oh, it's not even, well, it is a booklet. It's a 3-page fold-out thing on matte paper, and it's all caps, so I'm not gonna have the patience to read it. And song titles in some obnoxious, made-up and or ancient language. All languages are made up, though. Anyway, not sure how this sounds. Again, I didn't order this. This was sort of given to me as a surprise. I've added it to my Discogs collection, but obviously not listened to it yet because I just took the wrapper off. The record I did order for that package is this Urfaust, Dutch weirdo crooning drunk pirate doom black tinged metal. Very occult vibes. This one is called Voodoo Dust and Kalabairava, limited to 459 copies. The title track Voodoo Dust, oh look, the gold printed inner sleeve as well. A guy that wrote one of the songs, and I think his sister sings it, Salim Lemouchi. This is dedicated to him. He died in 2014. Yeah, it's his sister that sings it. Anyway, so here's the smoked vinyl version. Looks kind of cool. Yeah, it's the Voodoo Dust song, which you can find on streaming services and so on. Urfaust, Voodoo Dust. Listen to that. It's pretty cool. Even if you're not into extreme metal, it is more listenable than some of the weird shit I added in my extreme metal selections video that no one has watched. Like my video about the Grim Audio MU2 has like 10,000 plus views. And then I make a video about extreme metal and it gets like 177 views. Anyway, I understand that certain things draw a bigger crowd. Cool record though, and glad to finally splurge to buy it. Then a record, I'm getting to actually one other thing. Sorry, before I get to that. The record, so I bought this. This was included, but I had this in the package because my main reason for making the order in the first place was something else, but I'll get to that something else. It's further down in the pile, so let's have a bit of suspension for the cliffhanger for what it was that I was really after. This next record is a gift from a friend of mine that I really, really appreciate. So we had a party here to celebrate our marriage, and one of the guests, a friend of mine, who stayed right until the very end, and we had a pretty wild party down here, including karaoke and other things. I'll blur out faces to save the innocent, well, not so innocent. Anyway, it was a wild night. But he discovered by going through my record collection that I didn't have this record, and he decided that was an error that needed correcting. So he bought it for me, and that is probably the OG hardcore techno record, the one that started all of like hardcore techno. Mescalinum United, We Have Arrived. Can we get focus on this? If I hide my face, will it do it? Recorded in 1990, released in 1991 on Industrial Strength Records, which is just a fantastic name for a record label. Yeah, a milestone of electronic dance music, of the sort of outer fringes of exploratory, wild and crazy stuff from the rave scene. Really happy to have this. So thank you, Thomas, for buying this for me. Next up is a non-record. This is a remote control for my Grim Audio MU2 that Grim Audio very generously sent me. I think from now on, all the MU1s and MU2s that are sold will include this remote control. They come with a remote control receiver that you can plug in. It's optional. You can control them through an app as well and through the physical control on the device. But sometimes you want a remote control. And so it comes with a receiver, and you can program it to understand any remote control you already have. And most of us have many that maybe aren't in use even. So I think that's a sane and good way to set it up. Turns out, though, that a lot of people kind of want a remote control, and I do too. So, and this works great. I've set it up to do the basic functions, you know, volume up and down, and next and previous track, and next and previous input. It's good because when, like, we have kids, so when my wife and or kids come down here and want to watch TV, if you've seen my hi-fi reviews, you've seen the curtains behind me when I shoot in that direction. The curtains hide a big-ass TV. So this is also like the movie room for the family. And when they want to watch TV, they got to select the right input. And now that I have the MU2, they got to select the right input on the MU2, and they don't want to fiddle around with, web interfaces or the wheel on top that lets you select stuff. That wheel is cool in a way, but it's not a great interface. I know some reviews have praised it for being like rewarding in a tactile way. I'm sorry, Grim, it's not a good user interface. This is a better user interface. So now you can just step up and down through the inputs until it says TV, because I programmed it to say TV instead of Toslink. So you just press the button until it says TV, and then you can watch TV. So that was very useful to have. So thank you, Grim. It came with a little note as well. So all good. Happy to have that. Next is more records. This is not opened yet, so I'm gonna use a very pointy key for my bike to undo the tape. There we go. And let's see what's in here. I kind of know what's in here. And there's nothing extra in this one. No bonus records included. Boo. This is Steve Roach, who is, if you don't know Steve Roach, he has been active since I think 1979, and he makes ambient. And I have an absolutely insane amount of Steve Roach records. I will make a video about Steve Roach someday. It will probably be called Why Would Anyone Listen to Steve Roach? It will be in the Why Would Anyone Listen to series of videos. That video is going to be probably several hours long. Like, I'm not kidding. And if you can't watch a video that's several hours long, you also shouldn't be listening to Steve Roach, because all his music is super long form and requires a lot of patience and time for you to sink into it. And his output is literally hundreds of records. And they're all long. So this is yet another record from him. I always got one of those like OB strips, but not in the Japanese sense. Oh, so it's limited to 300. I got number 161. Love Steve Roach ambient stuff. We'll talk more about him in the future. So I'm gonna put this in the gotta listen to pile, because I have this rule that nothing goes in the shelves, and there's a bunch of, like a couple of thousand CDs over here outside of frame. Nothing goes in there until I've listened to it beginning to end. So this goes into the listen later pile. Okay, we've reached the bottom of my new arrivals, and so this is now the thing that I was actually buying when I ordered this and got this for free. The real reason for the order is a book, still sealed, by Timo Ketola, who was from Finland but lived a lot in Sweden, and he was an illustrator, designer guy that died way too young at 45 a few years ago. And this is sort of the culmination of all his work. This is a big one. So I will actually unseal this now. And he did so much for like black and death metal design. That was where he worked. Anything by Timo. Oh wow, the smell of this book. Like proper coffee table, massive book. Anything that he touched is brilliant, basically. He was aesthetically very gifted, and he was also extremely devoted to the sort of artistic styles of this kind of music, and he wouldn't just mimic what others had done in this style. He would like go to the source. Like he would learn. He went to Italy to learn calligraphy and from like old masters, and he took it so seriously. Like the things he did, they look like ancient artifacts, not like they're mimicking ancient artifacts, which is common in this world. They really do look like them. And so I'm just gonna creak this open a little bit. And yeah, he's just very, very gifted, and he has made designs for a lot of records that I think are extremely important. So So there was a book release for this, I think, end of October here in Stockholm. That was the first time it was released. And I thought that at the time of the release, like 6 p.m., they were going to have this event at the bookstore. And I thought, okay, I'll be there right at when they open and get a copy of the book. And I arrive and I find out that they were already sold out at 2 p.m. I'm like, why did you say 6 p.m.? Why were you selling them before the start of the event? So I had misunderstood the whole setup. So I had to wait for it to start selling through a French record label, and ordered it from there. And then I got the other records here. So I'm going to be looking through this very carefully. I'm getting distracted already. I'm gonna be reading this for a very long time. I should probably pick very carefully what I listen to when I read this. Yeah, he took his work incredibly seriously, and he was technically very, very good. Oh, look, this is like early artwork he did like as a kid. So he made one for INXS, and then he did Halloween, which is what I listened to in my childhood. I want to have this because I think he is, or was, now that he's dead, one of the best artists to ever work within the extreme metal scene. I think his vision and consistency and just technicality and just devotion exceeds all else. Like it's incredible the amount of work he did. And at the release at the bookstore, I got to see some of the originals, which was great. So yeah, I'm very excited to have this book. It's not cheap, but it's also quite the piece. So yeah, that concludes my very unscripted blabbering about the new arrivals. We got some records I ordered. We got a record I was gifted by a friend. We got a CD that I got gifted by the store where I bought a book. And we got a remote control. And we got some fluorescent tape. And we got some isolation footers for a turntable. Pretty interesting and diverse week of new arrivals. Next video might be an equipment review or maybe a random record roulette. I haven't done one of those in a while. I should do a random record roulette. Not that anyone watches them, but I think they're fun to make because I get to sit here and just yap and not have to follow a script I've written and then regret having phrased in convoluted ways. So until next time, take care.